Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? I've had some mic issues today with my video recordings. I had to record my video twice again today because my mic was not hooked up fully. So if you guys can hear me on both streams, that would be super, super, super awesome. Maybe. Can you guys hear me on TikTok? I'm guessing so because my sound thingy is working. So can you guys hear me on YouTube? That's the question though. Excuse me. Yay, awesome. Okay. Yay, awesome, awesome. On both ends. Yay, okay. Hello guys, welcome to the weather stream where we haven't done a weather stream in a little bit of time. We need to get an update in. We're probably going to be doing some tracking this weekend, one for severe weather and two for this thing. This is Tropical Storm Melissa, and I am quite astonished. I don't know if I'm astonished or more of like it's becoming a realistic situation. But I think I'm more shocked at what the hurricane models have done with this system in about 5 or 6 days. But I'm also thinking it's a reality. So we've got some pretty alarming potential with this tropical system. We've been talking all year long. What are we going to do when we get a tropical system in the Caribbean? What's going to happen? The water temperatures are almost 90 degrees down here. It's basically a boiling pot of water. It's like throwing a baked potato on a stove in a boiling pot of water and watching it cook. This is kind of the situation we're going to have here. And the ceiling for this event there really is not a ceiling with this event, actually, is what I'll say with this is I will tell y'all this, and out of all of the forecasting that I've done in the last couple of years, this storm system, I'm almost guaranteeing a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane out of. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if this storm does not become a Category 5 hurricane at some point in its lifespan before it eventually moves off to the northeast. I'll answer some questions on Florida here in just a moment. There's still a lot of uncertainties. Let's get into the updates here and talk about what's happening. This Tropical Storm Melissa kind of hanging out here. It's pretty much about stationary. It's moving west at about 2 miles per hour. So a very stationary storm. The situation with Melissa right now is very interesting. So we've got some northwesterly shear up here on the northwestern side of our system here, and a little bit of dry air in front of this. This system's going to be, I wouldn't say rapidly intensifying or developing quickly in the next 2 or 3 days. It's expected to become a hurricane by Saturday, which in reality is in the next 2 to 3 days. But then a major hurricane by Sunday. And the reason why it's going to go from like Cat 1 to Cat 3 within a matter of like 24 to 48 hours is the position of where it's going to be at. Is this system going to be south of Jamaica? Is it going to be close enough to Jamaica to interact with the low? What's going to happen with this system? Well, I'm here to tell you guys, it's not great. Somebody is going to see a horrific hurricane at some point in the next couple of days, whether it's Cuba, whether it's Jamaica, whether it's the Bahamas. Somebody's going to see it and someone's not going to get lucky. And whoever decides to get the main impacts from this system is more than likely going to be in a situation where you're not going to be able to survive it. I don't use these words very often, but if this storm becomes a Category 5 hurricane and does what I think it's going to do in the next couple of days, we are going to have islands that this system is going to go over that it's not going to be able to be survivable on. That's kind of my thoughts on what's going to be happening. The good news is this system is not expected to go towards Florida. It's not expected to go into the Gulf. It's not expected to do anything with the United States as of now. Things can change. The Gulf Coast, the Gulf of whatever you want to call it, the Gulf in general here is out of limits here. We're not going to be seeing the system going into the Gulf. It's going to go to the northeast, and we'll talk about why that is here in just a minute. But there is some weird modeling with the Euro and the Canadian model today that are basically showing our troughing that's going to be coming off of the East Coast late next week, and basically allowing for this system to merge with it and become a Sandy 2.0. So basically, in a nutshell, who all remembers Hurricane Wilma in 2005? I'm quite curious to know. I was 4 years old when it happened, but who in here remembers Hurricane Wilma? Because I'm gonna do a comparison here, okay? If I got anybody in the chat that remembers Wilma, one of the actually not one is the strongest hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin. Back in 2005 was a Category 5 hurricane at one point in its lifespan. 882 millibars was the pressure reading. We haven't had anything near that since. We've had some close encounters, but we haven't had anything sub 890, at least in my time frame of covering weather. And we've also had that storm was, I believe the wind speeds were 185 mile per hour sustained. Yeah, that's our record holder right now. We have models, we have hurricane models that are showing that record being broken. models showing that. So in reality, when we're talking about tropical systems and we're talking about hurricanes, we all know that models, we take them with a grain of salt. We see what happens. But with this specific situation, if this storm does go west, and there is pretty good support of it going west, if it can get west of Jamaica and it sit out over the Western Caribbean for 4 or 5 days, the ceiling for this event is potentially breaking that record on the table. We could see Hurricane Wilma's record be broken with this storm in the next 5 to 6 days if it takes that track. It is absolutely 100% on the table. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen. But what I'm getting at is the ceiling for this event is catastrophic. And if we in fact get to a storm to that intensity, where is it going to go? More than likely, it's going to go to Cuba, because it's going to have to take a northeasterly track eventually once our trough comes in. So if you're in Cuba, if you have friends or family in Cuba, I would be like letting them know to leave, or I would be like getting to that point of like, hey, you got to hunker down. Because by the time we get towards Sunday and Monday, if this is the track that storm does in fact decide to take and it goes through eastern and central Cuba, it's almost going to be unsurvivable. You're talking, we've got intensity tracks that are showing potential wind speeds sustained inside of this hurricane at 235 miles per hour. That's just unheard of. We've got models that are simulating pressure drops of 880 millibars right now. We have the HAFSB showing an 882 millibar Cat 5 hurricane with 235 mile per hour winds barreling into Cuba on Wednesday next week. So that would be almost unsurvivable if that model solution were to come out. So, and like I said, when we typically talk about hurricane solutions and we talk about trying to figure out what it's going to do and where it's going to go and how, in fact, intense it's going to be, those type of scenarios you really, throw out because they are outliers. But with this specific situation, with our water temperatures being so warm, with there being no shear in the next couple of days and no really way for this system to not strengthen, that is the high ceiling of this event. Is we could be looking verbatim right now, we could be looking with our strongest hurricane ever in recorded history at the end of next week. It is absolutely on the table. Absolutely on the table, 100%. Is Melissa going to get retired this year? I probably think so. Regardless if this storm becomes a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane, this storm is going to cause catastrophic damage to the islands here in the Caribbean. We are going to see feet of rain in some areas. We're going to see hurricane force winds. We're going to see storm surge. This is going to destroy the Caribbean islands once it is said and done and over with, depending on where it goes and where it tracks, whoever gets this storm. So once again, Tropical Storm Melissa here, not a hurricane yet, expected to become a hurricane by Saturday into Sunday. Like I said, the models are kind of all over the place with this, and we're going to talk about where that, why that is and the different features here in a minute. I will mention, like I said, it's basically not moving. The low-level center, we basically have a tilted vortex right now. So our low-level center is right over here. This is basically the low itself. It's still west of the convection here. Our mid-level center is back over here into the actual area of convection. Until our mid-level center and our low-level center align, we are not going to have this storm intensify, really. It's going to do some intensification just because of the convection and the nature of the wind around it. But this is not going to start to rapidly intensify until we stack our vortex on top of each other, and that doesn't look to be until closer to about Friday into Saturday. Could be a little bit sooner, just depends on how this storm goes and where does it go after that. Does it go west? Does it go northwest? So I'm going to show you guys some very interesting things. Here is the latest updated National Hurricane Center cone, and this is actually the newest update right here. We now have the 5 o'clock advisory in, expecting this to become a hurricane by Saturday, and then trend westward. And this is not what we want to see. This is like the worst case scenario for Cuba here. If you're looking at this map, you're like, all right, it doesn't look like it's going to go toward the United States or anything like that. It's not going to go towards Cuba. It's going to go west. What's about to happen? You guys see how this cone expands out like this past 7 days? This is the uncertainty on where this system could go past 7 days. So we are expecting a major hurricane, Cat 3 status, maybe even Cat 4 status by middle of next week. I believe this is next Monday. So this is Monday afternoon, reaching Category 3 hurricane status. And then we're not even in the warmest portions of the Caribbean yet. This system's still got a track like this. So more than likely, we're going to have Melissa as a major hurricane hanging out over top of Jamaica or south of Jamaica here. And then, like I said, does it go west? Does it go northwest? If it takes the westerly track, we're screwed in Cuba, because we're going to have more than likely historic hurricanes slamming into Cuba and slamming into the Bahamas. I will let you guys know in Florida, For anybody that lives in southern Florida, we need to be watching for outer bands, we need to be watching for waves, and we need to be watching for some tropical storm wind gust. I will let you know if this were to take a further northern track, there would be some impacts to southern Florida. We're not going to know those details until we get way closer to this event really getting itself together. The further west the system goes, the worse it's going to be for anybody. So we're going to hope and pray that this system goes north, but right now that's not the theme with the ensembles. That's not the theme toward anything like that. We're not expecting a landfall in the United States, but there are going to be impacts to southern Florida. I mean, you're basically taking a major hurricane and swiping it a good 100 to 200 miles away from southern Florida. There's going to be impacts, especially with the size of this storm and sheer intensity that it's going to be. So this is the updated 5 o'clock advisory here. A major hurricane by Monday into Sunday, or Sunday into Monday, and then a hurricane by Saturday. So like I said, something we're going to have to watch. Now here's the alarming situation here. First off, where the hell is this thing going to go? Nobody knows. I don't care if, I respect all the degreed Mets out there. I don't care who you think you are. I don't know where this is going to go. Nobody knows where this is going to go. We still have some support that's trying to take this, like the GFS is trying to take this up here. I don't buy that solution. I think that's an outlier solution. Most of our models agree on a west track, and believe it or not, as great as this seems, if this hurricane does not make a landfall in Jamaica, or the center of circulation doesn't go over Jamaica, this situation's going to be worse for Jamaica and Cuba in the long run. Because remember, the center of circulation, the further the south of the islands that this stays, the more time it's going to have to intensify, the longer time it's going to have to get itself together. This is basically simulating a worst case scenario for central and eastern Cuba, and therefore we would have a Cat 4, Cat 5 hurricane slamming into Cuba late next weekend. I will let you guys know we are going to be covering this event every single day going forward, 100%. I know that we don't have radars and stuff that we are able to see this with, but we're going to cover this because it needs to be covered. And if there's anybody that watches for some reason our streams that lives in these areas, we've had some people in Puerto Rico actually watch our streams before, surprisingly. Hopefully that word gets out to them, and hopefully they know what's going on. But I would think that people in Cuba and Jamaica would be evacuating, especially in Cuba. This potentially could destroy a lot of the Bahamas as well going into the future as well. So like I said, we're going to have to watch. Here's the concerning part. I want you guys to you can take a screenshot of this if you want. This is the first time, I think, in my lifetime of tracking weather that I have ever seen a hurricane model simulate a 200 mile per hour Cat 5 hurricane on a future outlook. Like, I'm not even joking. And believe it or not, this scenario right here is absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. With the water temperatures, like I said, as warm as they are, this is a scenario that is 100% possible. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Nobody knows. This is where most of the models have that intensity track. I think they are underdoing the intensity because, like I said, this system takes the west track, it gets away from Jamaica, it's sitting in the Western Caribbean, we're screwed in Cuba. That's what I would say at this point. That's worst case scenario. And like I said, most of the models had that, but the HFBI, and it's not the only one that's not a intensity guidance model. This is showing a 200 mile per hour Cat 5 hurricane, sustained 200 mile per hour winds. God knows what the pressure would be with this. Basically going into Cuba late next weekend. This would be a catastrophic disaster. This would basically be unsurvivable. This would wipe anybody that lives in that area potentially off the map. And I hate saying that, and I don't like to use those words, but this is a situation that would resolve with that if that scenario played out. If. Question mark. Hopefully this scenario trends and we see a weaker system, but I don't see that happening. I really don't personally see that happening. Anybody else could argue with me on it if they wanted to. So here's the GEPS tracks. You can see there are still some tracks that outlier this towards Florida. This is, like I said, if you're in southern Florida, you're not out of the picture here. This is our group of GEPS ensembles. Most of them take this to the north here, but once again, you're not out of the picture here, so we've got to watch southern Florida. And remember, the further that this system tracks westerly, the more of an issue it could be for southern Florida, and that's my concern going into next week, as well as Cuba and the Bahamas. The Bahamas are going to get wrecked either way with this system, wherever it decides to go to. But if anybody has cruising or anything like that, good luck getting that in, because that's not going to happen. So there's that for you guys. Let's talk about some models here. Here is our latest European ensembles. These are different members of the isolated European run itself. You can see some of these bring it very, very close to Florida. And I want to let you guys know, this is simulating where the center of the storm is going to go. So if for whatever reason, this center of circulation takes the farthest outlier run, we would have major impacts in central Florida. Hopefully that scenario does not play out. I think that's a less likely scenario. I think most of the models agree, on a central Cuba, central Bahamas track. But once again, if this continues to go west, if we see a larger storm, the size of the storm is going to matter. There's going to be impacts to Florida, like I said, regardless of that. That's what I said, Rush, dude. I'm very, very concerned for Cuba. I'm very concerned for anybody down here. We could literally make history with this storm. This has the potential to make a run at sub 900. I think 100% on the table almost at this point. So we're just going to have to see how this plays out over the next couple of days. If it stays further west, if it stays further southwest of Jamaica, you're screwed in Cuba. I hate saying that, but it's just like, it's almost like it's inevitable at this point. So, once again, how far west does it go? How far east does it go? How far, north does it go? Once again, if I've got anybody that lives in Cuba, that lives in Jamaica, that lives in the Bahamas, I would be leaving. I would so be leaving. I would be gone. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with any of this. If I was told there's the potential for the strongest hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin in history to develop this coming up week, I would be gone. And I like weather. I would never stay for something like this. Absolutely not. This is going to be a historic storm, no matter what it does. The rainfall is going to be historic. The storm surge, the wind. We're basically sitting a major hurricane, and it's stalling out off the coast of Jamaica for 4 or 5 days into the weekend. And where does it go after that? God knows. So like I said, I'm not going to underdo this solution. I'm not going to underdo this system, and I'm not going to overdo it. I'm going to give you guys the legit information and my concerns on this system. And I'm not going to lie as well when I say this. We have model runs that are taking our East Coast low pressure system next week and merging our hurricane with it going into next week, and potentially giving us, a Sandy 2.0. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but you never know. So every time historic, this would be historic. This is going to be a historic storm for the Caribbean, regardless of what develops with it. I don't really use the word historic too often, actually, but user, if you want to watch my videos, you can watch that and see yourself. But anyways, if somebody would like to block him, that's cool as well. Would it be weaker if it hits there? I think really at any point, this storm is going to be a strong storm no matter what. The Gulf is out of play. I don't see the system going into the Gulf whatsoever, and the reason why that is because we're going to have a big upper level trough, and there is no way this system can physically meteorologically or anyway go into the Gulf. The Gulf is out of play here. We're not worried about that. If there are going to be any United States impacts, it'll be Florida, and maybe in a weird wild card scenario, the Northeast corridor. So we'll see, like I said, what happens in the future here with this system. Those are the Euro ensembles. We'll take a look at the GFS ensembles this afternoon as well. GFS has been a little weird going into this event. So GFS ensembles as well, still, a little bit further to the south. GFS has been liking the solution of a weaker system further north. I don't see that really happening. I think the GFS is in La La Land and it's been on its own. I've seen a lot of other Mets talk about the GFS as well, and it's a solution that doesn't really make any sense. So we're gonna start watching it. We'll keep y'all updated. Here's a more concerning situation. This is the Google Deep AI model runs, the ensembles here, and Google has done an amazing, amazing job this year. Google has been top-notch, better than any other, forecasting so far this year. And look at Google. Pretty much turns every single run into a Cat 4, Cat 5 hurricane. And then, like I said, takes it up to the north here. So like I said, something we will have to watch very, very closely here over the next couple of days, and we'll keep you guys, like I said, keep you guys updated with what's going to be happening here as well. So by the way, just a heads up, guys, if you're going to come and stream and be rude or anything like that, you're going to get blocked and muted. So just a heads up. So just be nice in chat. It's really that simple. Anyways, as I was saying, though, a couple outliers here as well, taking this into Florida. I don't see the Florida scenario happen, but what I do think is going to happen is a major hurricane, once again, somewhere here into Cuba and into the Bahamas. So Jamaica will have impacts. I think every single island here is more than likely going to have impacts. It's just, like I said, how does the system develop over the next couple of days, and where does it go? So that is Google Deep AI. I think there's one more run as well here. We'll pull up. We'll take a look at this. This may make Milton last year look like nothing on pen and paper. Yeah, and then you have this scenario. This is this is the Google Deep AI merging our hurricane with our East Coast system next week and taking a. You guys see that, right? Hopefully this scenario does not happen. This would be kind of a worst case scenario for the Northeast, but I don't see a lot of model solutions showing this. Google Deep AI is showing it, so we're gonna watch it and see what happens. But this is actually really interesting. It takes more of these outliers a little bit further to the west as well. So I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen with this system. I personally don't know what's going to happen with this system. We just can kind of talk solutions and talk different scenarios on what, could happen here. But let's do this. Let's talk about our model runs, our hurricane models here. So we'll go with the HWRF here. It usually does a pretty decent job at, showing intensity track and what's going to be happening going into, the time frame of where this could be going. Here's the HWRF, simulates it, has a hurricane by Friday night into Saturday, and then the HWRF actually likes the solution of taking it way further into the north here. It actually takes it north of Jamaica and has it as a weaker system, but it still has it as a major hurricane at 954 millibars, and then takes it into eastern Cuba as a major hurricane. So that's the HWRF run. That's also a possibility, a weaker system further to the north, but what is your version of weak? Is it a tropical storm? Is it a hurricane? Or is it a Cat 3 hurricane? So that's kind of where I'm at in the middle with that right now. Here is the HMON run. This model run has shown, it's one of the 3 models that shows a higher in solution and scenario with the intensity and track of this. So HMON takes this thing, here it goes, takes it south of Jamaica. And then as we go towards, next week, it just misses the island completely. And then we just have a major Cat 3 plus hurricane hanging out west of Jamaica, figuring out where it's going to go. Is it going to go north or is it going to go northeast? So this will be going into next week. So we're still going to be tracking the system well into next week, guys. So, and then you get into the really alarming stuff. This is where things get really, really scary. And I'm not, saying this is what's going to happen or what's going to come to fruition, but we have to look at all solutions and what things are capable of happening in the Caribbean. And like I said, with the water temperatures being so warm, this is absolutely a possible scenario. We have the HAFSA model that usually does a pretty good job at showing solutions for tropical cyclones and, has a hurricane by, tomorrow night, actually, which is a little bit interesting. And then eventually takes this thing east, or not east, but takes it west, misses Jamaica completely by Saturday here, which is what the forecast calls for. Has a Category 5 hurricane, but then HAFS decides to take this thing down to 903 millibars by Monday afternoon as a Category 5 hurricane approaching the top 10 strongest hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin on history record. So that is the HAFSA. And then we have the concerning, I don't know what word to use for this. We have the HAFSB showing an 884 millibar Cat 5 monster, 2 millibars shy of Wilma's record, coming in west of Jamaica on Monday afternoon. So we literally, if this solution were to play out, we could literally be looking at Tropical Storm Melissa happening today and then being a major hurricane by 5 days out from now. That is the ceiling for this event. Is this going to happen? I hope and pray to God not, because whoever gets this hurricane next week is going to have a horrific day, and it's going to change your life ultimately at the end of the day if there is anybody that stays. So, like I said, I want you guys to understand we typically don't look at these higher end solutions, too paying much attention to them until we get a storm that rapidly intensifies and all of that. But this model run, the HAFSB, shows exactly the high end ceiling scenario of what this system could do in about 5 days once it gets past Western Jamaica and it gets into the Southwestern Caribbean. The water temperatures are prime for this. We would be looking at a historic, top 1, top 2 storms in Atlantic-based history if this scenario were to play out. It's a big if. I don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to go north, if it's going to go west. The thing with these systems, guys, when they stall out for 4 or 5 days, nobody knows. So what I'm getting on here and I'm doing is I'm talking to you guys about the different scenarios. We're talking about the worst case scenario. We're talking about the best case scenario. I did see that as well, Jonathan. There's a couple models that are showing sub 860, sub 870. So, the ceiling, like I said, for this event, guys, is historical. It's extremely, extremely, extremely high. So, we've got to see this storm put in some work and get itself going, but it's almost undoubtedly a very, very significant scenario here, that could be going towards, the Cuba area, Jamaica and into the Bahamas. So right now, we just have Tropical Storm Melissa. We don't even have a hurricane yet. So we've got 5 days to really watch this system before it would start to take a northeast turn and pick up speed. And then where does it go after that? Remember, the further this system tracks west, the more implications Southern Florida could potentially have. Cuba, the Bahamas, if it were to take a northerly track, then that would be the best case scenario. It's still going to become a hurricane regardless at this point in time. But right now, the National Hurricane Center really, really liking the idea of a major hurricane by Sunday. And then, like I said, you look at the intensity track here, and this is alarming. This is very alarming stuff. I don't think there's really any time I've seen an intensity guidance track show something this significant, really 4 to 5 days out. This has a 200 mile per hour sustained winds Cat 5 hurricane by next Monday on the higher end scenario chart here. This would just be horrific for anybody that got this. So we're going to hope and pray for the best. We're going to hope and pray that this scenario does not play out. We would like a better down to earth range here, but this shows the ceiling for this event. This shows where models are mostly agreement at as of right now in terms of intensity. So we have to look at both things and kind of go from there. So going back again and looking at the cone, this is the National Hurricane Center cone. This is the 5 o'clock update that just came in. We are going to have a tropical storm through Saturday, reaching hurricane status by Saturday, and then drifting off to the west. And what happens when it gets here, if it gets here? Does it rapidly intensify into a historic Cat 5 hurricane and then go northeast? Does it move northeast quicker? When does it take that northeast turn is going to give us the information on when and where and how strong this storm gets. So a lot of question marks to still be answered. If you're in southern Florida, there's probably going to be some minor impacts even if this stays east of you guys. Hopefully it does. I mean, this is going to be a monster system regardless of what it does, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen these models floating around today on social media. This is you'll see it in general more than likely because it's talked about a lot because it needs to be talked about. But here is the simulation for this thing. This is what we could be looking at in 5 days. This is literally what we could be looking at in 5 days. It's absolutely insane to think about that. Like, this is what we could be looking at in 5 days. Nothing to something, like, legitimately at the end of the day. So this is what warm water temperatures and no shear will do to a hurricane if it gets into an environment like this. And like I said, we've talked about this all year long, guys. We've talked about what's going to happen if we don't get any tropical cyclones through the season, and we get one into October into the Caribbean and one into the East Coast or something like that. The good thing is this is not forecasted to make landfall anywhere in the United States, but we still got to watch it just in case something crazy changes with it. So we'll keep you guys updated with that. I think let me see here. Yeah, the Google DPIA is a little bit on one here with the solution. I haven't seen any other trends. We'll have Area Recon going in there later on this tonight as well. So, like I said, about a million different scenarios, and we're going to be covering this every single day going forward and talking about it and keeping people updated. Do I think the HFS models will be accurate? Okay, honestly, it's possible. It's really possible. I don't like to cling on to one forecast run. I know there's some people out there that do like to do that. I don't know why, but here's my thing. If this thing holds on track and we have a major hurricane by Monday or Sunday of this, coming up week here, if we're looking at a Cat 3 or Cat 4 hurricane and this thing gets west and it stays west and it kind of hangs around, I think anything is on the table. But I want to see what happens over the next couple of days here, and I want to see trends and see where this, center of circulation goes. Does it go north first? Because once again, if it goes north, you can throw that solution out. It's not going to matter too much. But if it stays west, that solution is going to be 100% on the table. So I think it's possible. Absolutely. Any stock for it hitting the northeast? I hope not. I'll show you something for shits and giggles if you guys want to see something funny. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. So we have the European hinted at it a little bit ago. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Yeah, we have the Canadian model. So the Canadian model did like worst case scenario. You'll see we're going to have an East Coast system that's going to come off this coming up week here. We're going to have Melissa kind of do a little weird, funky, jiggly dance up here, and you can see what's going to happen. This trough that's coming in next week basically takes Melissa, misses Florida barely, and then merges it. And then we have like a Superstorm Sandy 2.0. I saw a meme on X today that said it's basically like taking Hurricane Wilma and what was it? Hurricane Wilma and taking Superstorm Sandy, and Melissa is their kid. It's like merging the two and they're having a baby. Is literally what I saw. I thought that was hilarious and a great analogy on that. But this is one scenario that's probably not going to happen. I don't see this being right, but it's something that we have to watch for in the weather world. When we see models that do this, it's not like, hey, this is 100% going to happen, but this would be a horrific situation for the Northeast if that were to happen next Friday. And also, this would be on Halloween. Why would we want this? This would be on Halloween. So hopefully this is just a stupid run. We'll see what happens. I don't think the OOZ did it. Yeah, the OZ didn't do it last night, so we've not really had any trends with this scenario, so we'll see. I know the Euro earlier, the Dermatistic run today, got it close. God, that would be a hell of a snowstorm up in Maine. Yeah, it gets it close, so it's kind of hinting at it, but I haven't seen any trends or any runs that really, support this. So the fact that we're getting it close, it really depends on how far west does this go. Is this going to take a easterly track? Is it going to go more central? Is it going to get close to Florida? And then does it have enough time to merge with that trough? A lot of things we got to think about. So it's kind of in the world of unknown on where this system is going to go. I wish I could give you guys answers, but I don't have answers to give you. And this is one of these tropical systems that you don't know what's going to happen. I hate saying that. Once again, we've had a lot of those this year, but this one's going to be talked about. We've got time to watch it. I really think personally this system has a chance at going top 5 on all-time hurricane list in the United States. I do, because we'll have impacts to Cuba, we'll have impacts to the Bahamas, we're gonna have impacts to Jamaica. This will definitely go down as more than likely a retired hurricane name, I think, after this year. I never would have thought Melissa, out of all the names this year, would be the one, but this just tells you guys you don't know what's going to happen with weather all the time. You can sit here and forecast all day long and do what I do and still question everything. So yeah, that's just how things go, sadly. All right. So besides that scary image, we do have a little bit of severe weather to talk about. I'm going to keep today's live stream pretty brief, but I just want to get on here and kind of talk with you guys. We'll be doing updates each day. We do have a low-end severe weather threat tomorrow across portions of eastern Texas and southern Colorado and back up into southern Oklahoma. This is going to be an overnight threat for severe weather tomorrow. So damaging winds, a very low-end tornado risk tomorrow for western Oklahoma, getting down into western portions of Texas. If we get a bump up to a slight risk tomorrow, we might go live and cover it tomorrow night. We'll see. But there is a small 2% from Oklahoma City back down into Lubbock, Texas tomorrow, a little 2% tour. Wind threat is at 5% and hail threat's at 5%. And the timing tomorrow is once again overnight. So once we get evening model runs in this evening, we'll talk more about that then. But we do now have a level 2 slight risk at play for Friday. This is going to be for southern Texas on Friday here. Level 2 slight risk for Midland, Texas, Odessa, San Angelo, Big Spring. We haven't any action down in Texas in quite some time. So if you live down in Texas, we'll have the chance for all modes of severe weather, mostly looking at wind and hail and a low-end tornado threat, so I don't expect too much with the tornado side of things with this, but we'll keep you guys updated here. And then going into the day 4 through 8 outlook update, we don't really have too much going on, but I do want to talk about one more thing with you guys. Monday and Tuesday severe weather threat has pretty much evaporated, meaning it doesn't exist. We've seen a big change in our troughing pattern for next week, and it's really, we're just looking at some cold air. We're gonna have a very, very windy week next week across the eastern half of the United States, as this week is. You can see if you're in the Ohio Valley or the Northeast this week, it's very, very windy, and that's due to this upper level low that's coming out of Canada, or up into the Great Lakes, up into Canada here. Here's our main severe weather event this week. This is going to slide east as that trough slides east, and then eventually, as we go into next week, what was supposed to be our significant severe weather event is now a Arctic air mass of cold air. Troughing progression and troughing shape make a huge deal when it comes to talking about severe weather forecasting. If your trough looks like this, you're not going to get severe weather. It's like crap. So like I said, we'll have to see what happens with this, but the GFS model here, no, sorry, this is Euro. The European here going just basically very, very, very cold air for a lot of people, eastern Ohio Valley, and then you can see our, hurricane merging kind of with it there potentially. And then after that, things get more and more iffy, more storm systems come in. I really think personally, we're going to be very, very busy covering winter weather, covering, the tropical system next week. It's gonna be a very interesting week next week in terms of what happens across the weather in the weather world. So taking a look at temperature anomalies as well next week, Euro really likes the idea of some very cold air coming down out of Canada. This would put temperatures in the southeast about 10 to 15 degrees below average, so we would see temps probably in the 60s and some upper 50s for some high there. So something to make note of there. So we'll see what happens. And then, like I said, there's our hurricane down at the bottom of the screen down there. So we'll see what happens. Next week, like I said, it's all about model trends. I don't like to ever look at one model run and be like, oh, this is going to verify, because that's stupid. You look at trends, you look at ensembles, and there's some pretty decent support, but there was also a lot of support for the severe weather event that we were supposed to get next week as well, and it pretty much vanished. So I think anything can change within a matter of, days when we're looking at severe weather and, different timing of our troughs and stuff like that. So just lots of things to look at here. We've also got the threat for some heavy rainfall as well going through the next couple of days here. We're going to see those showers and storms move through. You can see our storm system coming through Oklahoma and into Texas through the weekend here, and eventually into the southeast. And then after that, we're going to have some cold air come down. The models have really wanting snow next weekend in the Northeast. I don't know how well that's going to verify, but we'll see. I don't see too much in terms of severe weather right now unless some pattern change. And then what I do see is a interesting little Arctic air mass setting up and maybe giving some isolated snow showers to West Virginia and Western Pennsylvania. But I think that's a little far out to get to that point in La La Land. So we'll be mostly covering Melissa over the next couple of days, guys, and really the next couple of weeks, because I really want to this means a lot, seriously. I know we don't have a lot of viewers that watch in other areas, but if we were to get one in here, this would mean a lot to that. But hopefully people just leave. I would not want to be in Cuba or the Bahamas or anywhere near this system next week whatsoever. Really this weekend and next week. I don't want to be here for it. I would not want to be in the path of a system like this. So lots of things are kind of hanging out here. Like I said, it does look to be too that this system kind of has stalled just a little bit. So it's not moving a lot right now. But does anybody have questions on anything? Do y'all have questions for me? I might do another live stream tonight once we get overnight model runs in. We'll just kind of see. What is the bottom part doing wrapping around? That's just convection on the south side down there. Is it going to hit Ohio? No, hopefully not. Did they actually put a Cat 4? I haven't looked at actual Radar Omega yet. Yeah, so they already have this. Yeah. We're going to get our third Cat 5 hurricane of the year with almost, it literally skips Cat 2 status. It just rapidly intensifies on Sunday. It goes from a tropical storm on Saturday to a Category 4 hurricane by Monday. This is going to cause so much damage for so many people. This is going to be really heartbreaking to see. When we start getting pictures in next week from this event happening, this is going to be horrific for anybody, because basically what's going to happen is the system's going to, it's going to go like this. It's going to get pulled by our trough, and it's going to move out to the Northeast, and we're going to have somebody here from the Cuba area that's going to get hit with it. So yeah, this is going to be a really sad story to cover. I like covering weather, but I don't like covering events like this. This is going to be almost unsurvivable for a lot of people. If we are predicted to have a Category 4 hurricane by Monday, we still have a good couple of days where this is going to hang out here in the Northeast, and it hasn't even got into the warmer water temperatures yet, the higher water temperature contours, or the oceanic heat index area yet, but this is going to be an issue. This is going to be a big time issue. If the trough didn't exist, then we would probably have this thing going into the Gulf. I really think the trough that's coming in next week, the big dip in the jet stream, that's what's saving the system from going north. I saw, I'm not gonna, call people out on stuff, but I saw another weather forecaster on TikTok yesterday saying that this was going to go right towards Louisiana yesterday, and I thought that they were full of shit. There is no way that this would possibly go into the Gulf. We have no ensembles. We have no scenarios. There is not a single way. There is a high pressure ridge that's up here that's blocking this thing from going southeast or going northwest. And then we have that trough that's going to swoop in and pick this thing up. And I know somebody's going to come in the chat and say, well, it's going to go in there anyways. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, check back in about 6 days. I would watch Southern Florida. Yeah, I want to watch, because in a weird situation where the trough is a little bit weaker, or times out a little bit differently, we could see a very, very close by South Florida area. So. Oh, I don't know the answer to that one. Photography, I have no idea. Yeah, the models have been very, very good with the trough next week, so I'm in full support of it. Let's go with it. Let's get this thing out of here. Let's get hurricane season done and over with. This is the last system we're going to have to worry about, so. We are closing the books on 2025 hurricane season once Melissa is done and over with, which puts us at 13 named storms for the year, so. Like I said, a lot of things to watch the next couple of days, but this is going to be by far means the most impactful storm of the year, and it more than likely will be that Melissa does get retired at the end of the hurricane season. I'm in no shock that wouldn't not happen here. So Yeah, going out with a bang. That's for sure. I did not expect. If you guys remember, like 2 weeks ago, the models had this system because of a different troughing pattern, and this is why we have to. This is why people cannot post model runs 300 hours out, because we had people 2 weeks ago posting when the models first started showing this. The GFS first saw it. They had this thing slamming into the Gulf 2 weeks ago. That's why you cannot forecast weather. You cannot forecast tropical systems more than 5 to 7 days out, let alone even 5 days in this type of a situation, because we don't know what's going to happen. There's too much inconsistency. We can't even forecast severe weather 3 to 4 days out, let alone this type of system happening. And we've got people posting model runs 300 hours out that don't know what they're talking about. So, that's the issue. That's the issue with our world that we live in, is people just get all gung-ho happy about it when they see it, and then they post it, and it scares the shit out of people. So this does not have any potential of going into the Gulf whatsoever. I've yet to see any support whatsoever with that. So yeah, 3 Cat 5s would be, yeah, it would be. I think this would be the first time I've ever seen that happen too. So it's like, this year is just a history year. So that is how it is, Justin. There's a lot of people out there that do that. I have to be very cautious with my words, but I'm also not going to overdo or underdo on a situation. And like this system here, this has the 100% potential to become the most strongest storm in Atlantic Basin history. This could easily surpass Wilma if it gets its shit together and gets cranking soon. So that's the issue. If we're forecasting a Cat 4 hurricane by Monday, we still have 3 or 4 more days where this system's going to have time to strengthen. Anything's on the table. I think we go sub 900. I really do. I think we make a run at sun. I want you guys to remember this, okay? You can give me shit for it later at the end of the week next week, but I really think this has a chance at going sub 900. So, yeah, sheer out the west right now. That's why it's not really moving much and it's not developing much. It's got our mid-level center and our low-level center pretty much stripped apart. So until those two align again, we will not see this thing really develop at all. Yeah, yeah. So once those two realign and we get convection wrapped around both of those again, we'll be cranking and going here. I have no idea, Kay. I can't give you the answer on that one. So, is there a chance it'll hit Florida? Very small chance. Yeah, check back in this time next week, guys, and we'll be talking about potentially a big time story. So, but other than that, I think that's what I've got for you guys today. Like I said, I'll have another video tomorrow morning. We might have another live stream tonight. We'll do some live coverage next week once this system gets cranking and rolling here. We'll have live updates each kind of randomly throughout each day. So other than that, like I said, not too much else going on. We'll have some severe weather to cover in Texas and Oklahoma the next couple of days. A little bit of severe weather, but I'm not too biggie on that other than the flooding over there. So, but I think that's really what I've got for you guys today. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate all the love. Yeah, they have, King. Yeah, they have. I was looking again. Caitlin, thank you for the swan. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. This is one of the Google Deep AI model runs. This is not something you want to see, is this. And the further west that this damn thing goes, the more of an issue we could have. I'm not saying the East Coast or Florida is going to get impacts or landfall at all right now, but we got to watch the west shift trends, because the further west, the more west this goes, the more of an issue we're going to have. So there's one run. We have the other Google Deep AI is also showing a further west trend a little bit more. And regardless of if this makes a landfall, everybody wants to know, is it going to make a landfall? Even if this makes landfall in central Cuba, we are going to have outer bands and issues in southern Florida regardless. So I really don't see a situation where we see too much of an issue with there not being impacts in southern Florida. So that's what I can think of as of right now. But I'm going to let y'all lovely people go. I'll have another update tonight if things change when we get updates. Hopefully some positive updates, but we'll just kind of see what happens over the next couple of days. I'll have an update for you guys tomorrow morning. We'll have a live stream again tomorrow, and we'll keep tracking and we'll keep going with this thing. So, thank y'all, my weather team, for being here. I appreciate you guys as always. Thank y'all for joining in on YouTube. Haley, Carrot, Justin, good to see you guys, bro, as well. Sam, good to see you as well. John, good to see you as well. Hope you guys are all doing well. And we'll be back here again maybe tonight. We might do another upstream. We might do another stream later on tonight. But other than that, y'all, peace out.